morning, ISPA. My name is Apexer from San Francisco, California. You saw a brief video of me in the process of painting a mural, or a couple of different murals in San Francisco. And I just kind of want to share my story with you all as you share your lives with everyone else. So a big changing moment for me was when I was 26 years old. And I dove into shallow water in Hawaii on a family vacation. And on that trip, and diving into the shallow water, I broke my neck, died, had an out-of-body experience, had to come back to self, and I'm just going to go a little bit more into that process. So when I dove into the shallow water, I always had a lucid dreaming life as a kid. I enjoyed jumping in, going to sleep, control my dreams, go everywhere I wanted to go to. And then when this moment happened, I realized, like, oh, that's the reason why I was always able to do that. Because when I dove into the water, as you're diving in, at the bottom of the curve, I hit the sand. And I remember thinking, excuse my language here, damn, that sand was hard. But the word hard never processed. And I immediately, if you think of light bulbs blowing, like this bright light blew from the top of my head all the way down like dominoes. And I remember thinking, like, what is that? What just happened? And all this is going lightning fast. And I had to sit there and analyze what that was, and then everything went black. And I was like, wait, I know this is blacked out. I blacked out, what's going on? Then the next moment, as I'm standing here on stage, as if my eyes were open, but they weren't, I started seeing the surroundings. I started becoming the water, becoming the sand, expanding outward. And about where the front row is here, I started becoming a man walking on the beach. As you are all sitting in the chairs right now, and you are all who you are, you know who you are, I was the water, the sand, the guy walking on the beach. And then as soon as I became the woman walking on the beach in front of him, I started becoming her. That's when I knew, like, okay, I'm dying, I'm leaving, and this is amazing. And truthfully, the words, we don't have words to explain that feeling. That feeling was the utmost peace, beautiful oneness. There's no words to really explain what I was feeling in that moment. But internal kicked in and said, you got things to do. You're not done yet. Pull it all back together. And just as if you had a bad dream, you know how to wake yourself up, I pulled it all back together, came back, eyes opened up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I know. My eyes are open. And I started to swim. And immediately, grew up swimming. And immediately I was like, I'm not swimming. This is what they call ghost swims. I'm thinking I'm moving, but I'm not. And I'm doing the dead man float in the water. And there's a kid about here in front of the stage on his boogie board. I'm in 3 feet of water, and he's just looking at me. And I'm floating, so I take and fling my head up to get air, another time to say help, and I repeat this process. And I thought I was screaming, but I couldn't control anything from my neck down. Remember that moment of me getting air and repeating that process. I'll come back to that. So after I did that, and as beautiful as it was and peaceful as I was expanding out, holding myself in energetically, this broken vessel at that moment was like the grossest feeling, the nastiest feeling, because I had to hold it in. And it was like a workout. And in that process, I kind of just looked around and said, hey, look, I'm a great swimmer. This kid doesn't know to help me. All right, you saw all that, you did all that, and let it go. And I laughed. And when I laughed, that's when my girlfriend at the time, she came in, she picked me up, she didn't see what happened, and she didn't know what was going on, and the only thing I could say was, get me out of the water, get me out of the water, get me out of the water, because I knew that I couldn't control what was happening. There were 3 doctors on the beach on vacation from Japan. They came over, they picked me up, secured me, family rushed over. Fast forward, go to the hospital. I shattered C5, C7 teardrop fracture, platelet, which is 99.9% paralysis. Ripped all the ligaments off the back of my neck. In the process of getting air and to say help, I took all the brain power for the whole body and pushed it into my neck to get that. And 3 herniated discs and C6 disc almost severed my spinal cord. So I was paralyzed for 8 months, looking at the ceiling, stayed in Hawaii, in and out of coma for 3 days, and then they finally flew me home. And once I came home, doctors for 8 months were trying to figure out, what do we do? How do we have the surgery? Do we go in the front, in the back? In that process of them trying to figure out what to do, I was going out of my mind, making my family, they didn't know what to do, or we love this guy, but he's not really here, he has this attitude. And because, I'm an active person, and just to be stuck and laying in a bed looking at the ceiling, there was a lot of things going on with me, and in that process, I started really just reflecting on self. I couldn't help it. Didn't want to do it, but couldn't help it. To really start to connect and look at my life and what is it about? What am I doing? Why did I say that I had stuff to do? What was that? All these questions that I had to answer. And in that process of waiting on the surgery that I didn't have, there was an art show. And I was like, I have to do this art show. Called the curator up. I used the fact that, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk again or what's going on, but I need to do this. So now I'm going in and out of paralysis towards the 5th and 8-month period. And in that, I basically started being able to walk again, from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to an hour, and keep going. And it was muscle memory. It's what I was supposed to do. It's the reason why I'm here. It's to paint, it's to give back, to create these murals. And there's more details to that story, but that's a good transition into, since then at 26 to now at 39, being able to travel, do murals in different communities, give back to people, and because it's my purpose. I might not understand every bit of it, but I'm walking it and living it. And in San Francisco, there's a neighborhood called the Tenderloin. I don't know how many people are familiar. And there we go. And this is a neighborhood that many cities have. It's a lower class neighborhood that's dead smack in the middle of the city. There's a lot of diversity, a lot of life going on. And a lot of times people will drive through it or look past it and not pay any real attention to it. And I'm painting a mural there one time, and a large mural about as wide as this stage. And a guy comes up to me. As I'm painting, I have my headphones on, as you saw. It's like when I paint. And this kid, younger than me, says, hey, I know who you are. And I was like, no, you know. He's like, yeah, you painted a mural here, here, here. I was like, oh, wow, you pay attention to, okay, yeah, that's me. And he says, do you mind if I just kind of sleep over here at the base of your mural? And he was like, I'm homeless, and I feel safe in front of your mural. And it was a moment of like, all right, yeah, like you're doing your job, and of course you could, yeah, go ahead. And I worked on my section for about 2-3 hours, and then I looked over and he wakes up and he thanks me and walks away. And these moments, every time I paint a mural, it doesn't matter what kind of neighborhood, there's always somebody responding back, somebody saying, thank you for giving to me, giving to us. We see it, we see the work, the energy put out. And that's something that's, from the story of my accident and walking forward, and even to this day and tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but I accept it as it unravels, and I accept my process in giving. And I know that in this audience, there's a lot of givers, and we need to accept our process, that this is who we are, this is what we do. We give to people, and we receive from people as well. And I think that it's something that we all, I know we do, but collectively, just to have a moment to think about it, that we're all giving and we're all receiving, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you.